What was the most intense experience you have ever had at a McDonald's? I was on I-94 outside Detroit and stopped at McD for a snack. A female employee came from behind the counter and told me that 4 guys at a nearby table saw you driving in that fancy car and are going to rob you. I ran out the door. My wife and I were coming out of McDonald's and walking toward our car. As I approached it, my driver's side opened and an elderly lady climbed out holding 2 iced coffees. My wife and I just stared at her and she said, "Oops, I got in the wrong car." She then walked to her car 2 spaces away that looked nothing like my car. We busted up laughing at her and might have made her feel bad. It was just so funny. Once saw a woman become irate and throw 4 cheeseburgers at the kid behind the counter because she ordered double cheeseburgers and only got single cheeseburgers. At the time, singles were 99 cents and doubles were $1. She kept screaming, "It's only a penny more, why would you even think I wanted the singles? How stupid do I look?" That woman was my mother. Edit. Wow, this blew up. I should say my mother more than likely has borderline personality disorder. I'm not making excuses for her at all. She has history of treating waitstaff and cashiers badly for as long as I can remember, despite working in retail most all of her life. I worked at McDonald's in high school. Once there was this new guy. I forget his name, let's call him D. He apparently went to the same high school as me, but I never even saw him. He'd worked there for about a week and he sucked at his job. Always showed up high and had no respect for the managers. But that's McDonald's for ya. One day, during a busy rush at about 5 PM, I'm working in the kitchen and he is up front pouring coffee. I see this well-dressed white man in his 50s step behind the counter, which I noticed because I hate when customers do that. The man grabs D's attention. The man says, "Are you D?" D says yes. Next thing I know, the man reaches into his shirt and pulls out a badge on a necklace. He grabs D, spins him around, and cuffs him. Suddenly 4 or 5 other customers in the lobby reach into their own shirts and pull out badges. They had D surrounded and dragged his ass out. It was all over in less than a minute. Turns out he was a drug dealer, owned guns, and posted pictures of the guns online. The police called the day before and spoke to one of my managers about it, but she wasn't allowed to tell anyone. Needless to say, I never saw him again. The cashier that was obviously high on some kind of amphetamines was rather intense, but damn if that was not the fastest burger I ever received. Went pretty late at night with 2 friends, but we were picking up for a big group. We ended up ordering about 20 McDoubles and 10 McChickens. The cashier was super flustered because they didn't have a lot of employees working at the time. The manager stepped in and started cranking out McDoubles at lightning speed. I've still never had a McDonald's order that efficient. My roommate got robbed at a McDonald's. He needed some cash and put his PS3 up on Craigslist. A guy messages him and they agree to meet at McDonald's. My roommate explicitly says $100 cash only. At the McDonald's, the guy hands him a check. Roommate starts to say something when the guy lifts up his shirt, showing a gun in his waistband. Whatever. Take a check over a bullet, right? He goes to the bank to cash it, and in a couple minutes the cops are there and my roommate is in handcuffs in the back of a cop car. The check was from a dead woman and roommate has committed bank fraud. They get it all worked out, but he never got his PS3 back or the money. Walked into a McDonald's in Detroit at the same time 2 other groups of customers came in. It was about 8 PM and far from closing time. The woman behind the counter looked at the clock, shook her head while throwing her hands up and yelled, "Hell mother frickin' no. It's time to close and I'm out this bitch in 10 frickin' minutes." Frick these people. Me and my coworker promptly turned around and walked out. The other groups stayed, we believe. I didn't wanna read spit-filled McDoubles. Oh god. This also happens to be one of my most embarrassing moments. One time I went in and ordered a dine-in meal. I took my tray of food over to my table and had to cross a wet floor area. I slipped like someone on the movies, completely backward. Food flying over my head. The staff was nice enough to comp me a fresh meal. I start to take that tray over to the soda machine. Slip again. Though this time I was able to save my food by sort of placing it on the counter as I was slipping. Couldn't save my pride. Though. A woman looked at me trying to pull myself off my ass the second time and said, "Are you okay?" with a not very subtle tone of disgust. I think I was wearing new shoes and the soles were extra slick. But OMG. I have a speech impediment. I was coming back from the hospital because one of my clients was in there for surgery. I was hungry, so I stopped at the McDonald's across the street. After I wait in line and I'm done placing my order, the man behind me asked why I talk the way I do. Then he started to give me improvised in the spot speech therapy. The worst part? I don't even think he was a speech pathologist. This might not be the story you were looking for. But once in high school on lunch break, me and 4 friends went to a McDonald's that was known for being a little sketchy. Very inner city. We were all good friends, so we would always pool our money so everyone could eat. We could only come up with $5 between us, so everyone got one of those $1 chicken sandwiches they used to have. And we were not satisfied. Then as we were preparing to leave, a little old lady with a big smile came up to our table and said, "You know what I see here? Brotherhood." Weren't sure what she meant at first. But then we realized that our group consisted of 2 white kids. 1 black, 1 Asian, and 1 Indian. Which would be something she didn't see much growing up when she was our age. She was so pleased she gave us another $5. We each got another sandwich. That was a good day. Sitting in the drive-thru at a 24-hour McDonald's after coming back from the bars around 3 AM. It's summer. So sitting with the windows open. And I'm in the passenger side. I see someone in the wing mirror coming out from the woods behind us. He approaches my window and asks for cash. And I tell him I don't carry any. So he asks for food. We'd already passed by the ordering speaker. And were waiting to pick up. So I told him we couldn't. And to try someone else farther back. The next part was a little weird because he then asks if I want to buy a knife. I shrug it off. Say not really. And remind him that I don't have any cash. He flips the knife open. Reaches through the window. And waves it in my face. I agree that it's pretty cool. But I still don't need a knife. He finally leaves. And walks off down the street. It wasn't until I was sitting at home that I realized he may have been trying to mug me. And very easily could have fricked me up. I flew from ANC to Lax and tend to get travel sick. We were on our way to Disneyland and drove through Compton for some reason, and I knew I was going to be sick, so we stopped at a MCD so I could puke. There was a group of super sweet black ladies in the bathroom who held my hair while I projectile vomited. Wasn't a crazy experience or anything, but definitely the most interesting thing that happened in a McDonald's. I walk into the women's restroom and there's only 1 stall available. I go to use it. I end up hearing someone else come in and yell, "Damn it. I need to take a shitty." I come out and see her with her pants down sitting trying to sit on the wall trash can to pop a squat and do her business. I no longer go to that McDonald's. We have a decently sized homeless population. So they would usually end up there. It was not uncommon to see them dig in the trash cans that were in the store before being kicked out by staff. But one time as I was eating lunch with a friend, some homeless dude came in, dug in the trash, found a receipt, and walked up and demanded a replacement. As he was unsatisfied, the employees told him to get out. But he got belligerent and started cussing them out. The manager tried to dispel the affair, but the homeless guy started shouting how he was then entitled to a free hamburger because he was a Vietnam vet. He had PTSD. Couldn't get no luck worth a poop. Among other things that he repeated ad nauseum. Then he started holding up the line. Finally a bigger dude walked up to the scrawny fellow and told him to leave or he would make him leave. So he walked out. When I was 7 or 8, my dad and I were always at McDonald's getting the sundaes and fries, and one day when we went, There was a homeless man out front asking for food or money. When the guy asked my dad for money, my dad told the guy to hold on and that we would return with our change after we order. So we order. My dad gives the guy our $2 change or whatever. And then we go back inside and get our food. A couple minutes later, the homeless man is inside the store going table to table with a pocket knife, robbing the customers in the store. He robbed like 3 families. And then walked past our table and just nodded his head to my dad. I had my back to the guy during this, so I didn't know about it until after he left the store. But it's still so scary that $2 saved 7-year-old me a lot of fear. No joke. My ticket came out to be $6.66 and immediately the cashier was like, "May God bless you." A guy cut my mom and I in line at McDonald's, and when she called him out he threatened to throw her in the deep fryer. When I was in high school, my friends and I used to go to McDonald's and order a bunch of large fries. Then dump them all together on a tray and go to town. Well, once we were about 3/4 of the way through a fry tray, TM, and someone found a hair. So they replaced the entire order with a new one. That was a good day. TLDR, me and a friend were treated like human beings at a McDonald's and found it weird. Me and a friend went to McDonald's at around 11 PM. That day they put in those ordering machines and they'd bring the food up to you. We thought that was great, but my McDonald's did something totally unexpected. They were nice to us. We walked in and the door was held open for us. Everyone was smiling way too wide. We were served and the server even came back around like it was diner. Me and my friend were totally creeped out. I left a tip. I wasn't sure if I should have. We have never been treated like that again at that McDonald's, which I am perfectly fine with. I was sitting with a friend and all of a sudden this dude walks up and accuses me of racism. Tells me I was looking at him all shifty eyes and tells me that he'll kick my ass. I basically told him to get lost and he kept hovering around us and trying to start arguments, so we get up to leave. Outside the McDonald's, he throws his cup of water at us. He missed. By the way, when I was about 4 or 5 years old, the playpen was temporarily closed. I was small enough to fit between the bars and had the whole thing to myself for like 3 minutes while my mom tried to get me out. Was eventually asked to leave. Worth it, though. I was super high and couldn't figure out what to order. The cashier was giving me suggestions but I couldn't settle on anything. I was convinced my decision was the most important thing in the world. And I was having an existential crisis. I sat down next to like a 300-pound lady, and as soon as I started eating she finished eating and was staring at my food or at me, I dunno. After a few seconds she started sneezing a lot and coughing and making disgusting noises with her throat to get out mucus, which she wiped off with her own hair and even spat out some on the table. I legit took all my food and stuffed it in my bag and ate outside in freezing weather. Walked into the bathroom one time at a McDonald's and saw some homeless dude eating his own dead flesh off his gangrenous foot. Wasn't hungry after that. Had just finished a bartending shift in the market when I lived in Ottawa. I mean closed bar, last call, clean and walk home. Decided to grab some breakfast. It was about 4. And yes, it was 99 Rideau. Place was a zoo. A madhouse. The order line was a mosh pit. All lines full and all the way across. But I was hungry. So I wait patiently in line while people are hooting and hollering. People are pushing and shoving but I'm just waiting. And finally get up to that point and I guess the staff had had it. One of them gets up and loud and says, "Everyone out. They're closing for 15 minutes. No excuse or cleaning or anything. It was a frick this. You're all done." I was right there, about to order and starving. So I say to one of the cashiers looking like they were closing the cash and heading to the back and say something along the lines of, "Listen, I've been waiting in line. Patient and just finished a 10-hour shift. I've dealt with rowdy crowds like this. Respect. Think I can sneak a McMuffin combo?" And they said yes. Even yelled to the back when someone questioned why they were doing an order. But they okayed it and I left happy. Thanks 99 Rado. My best friend has been with McDonald's for 8 years now. She runs 4 stores by herself. So she's in a pretty good position. She's also my ride or die best friend. And I believe everything she tells me. She called me once and told me they had an employee quit in the middle of a rush by standing on the counter, taking his shirt off, and yelling "Rise with me plebeians." Today we quit then just left. I would have loved to see that in person. Went to a McDonald's in Chicago and ordered a water with my food. Went to get a refill and the guy behind the counter instantly started yelling, "No refills. No refills." I was trying to tell him I was wanting more water. I finally had to yell at him in front of my daughter in order for him to shut up long enough to hear me. I finally got my free refill of water. My total came to $6.66. And the cashier rounded it to $6.67. Pardon me? No. Just because you have some sort of issue with the number 666 I'm supposed to pay a penny more? No ma'am. It's the principle of the thing. Not intense, but once at like 2 AM I ordered a cheeseburger with only ketchup and lettuce and I got home to find a bun with cheese, ketchup, and lettuce. There was no burger on my cheeseburger. I was livid. I once had to wait 2 minutes in line. Well, I'm currently drunk in an airport and a really fluffy dog passed by, but my food wasn't ready yet and I had to decide between petting the cloud on legs or eating my drunk food. After several nerve-wracking seconds I chose food. I still haven't found the fluffy despite walking up and down the halls. I'm really drunk. Got punched in the back of the head and then waited inside for the police to turn up while a group of people waited outside to beat the poop out of me. My best friend and I, both girls, were on a road trip and stopped to use the bathroom at McDonald's. There were only 2 stalls. One normal and one handicapped. I got in the handicapped one and we started making jokes with each other about bathroom stuff. I ended up having to poop and did this weird voice from the stall. And I said, "Oh, I'm in the right stall to take a handicrap," and a bunch of other poo references while I was cracking up. When I opened the stall door, my friend was standing there with tears of silent laughter. And she was standing next to about 5 women who had silently come in and were standing in line. If you know, you know. The famous brawl in Ottawa at the Rideau McDonald's where a raccoon was casually pulled out of a guy's sweater during a fight in 2014. A good summary of all the crazy poop that happens at that McDonald's. Went to McDonald's super stoned and got to the drive-thru and the girl said through the mic, "I'm going to freaking kill you." I freaked out for a moment, then she realized the mic was on and her friend was behind her being annoying while she took orders. PHEW. Stopped by one at 2 AM super drunk with my friend, my fiance, and his friend. I was easily the drunkest out of everyone. My fiance was DD. But the others had drank with me. Had a group of Asian Americans come in after us. Likely coming in from clubbing downtown just like we had. And one threw their hands in the air, waved them wildly and shouted when they walked in, "It's an Asian invasion." It was quite the introduction. Afterwards, that group started talking with the guys while my friend and I went to the bathroom and I proceeded to vomit my brains out. Back in high school I wrestled as heavyweight, but due to a teammate's injury I had to make 215. 3 weeks of wrestling practice and meets underfed was hell. The day I was told I could go back to heavyweight and wouldn't have to go back down to 215, I went to McDonald's and ate 11 sandwiches in a row and drank 7 larger Cokes. Totally calorie count was over 4,000 in less than an hour. Not me. But my friend was standing at one of those leather Y things that they have by the ordering machines. And he just casually pissed himself. He wasn't high or drunk. And the bathroom was maybe 10 feet away. He just stood there, peeing. And then left the McDonald's. Talking to the cashier. Someone once offered to buy a friend of ours for 15 cents. When she said she cost more than that, he walked over to the wall, ripped the clock off, and said, "Can I buy you for 15 cents? And a clock?" The answer was still no. The old style metal playground equipment would frick up your shins crawling around inside. I'm talking about the big hamburger jail tower specifically. Hey you, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and hitting like. Also, if you have an Alexa device, you can say, "Alexa, open Reddit stories," to hear some of the all-time top Ask Reddit posts. Thanks for watching.